We're opening up the mailbag once again to answer questions about LeBron James flirting with the Heat via social media, what it would take for Miami to acquire Bradley Beal, and where Caleb Martin ranks among the top dunkers in franchise history. A great hump day episode you don't want to miss.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, Heat Nation. It's a Wednesday edition of Locked On Heat. Thank you so much for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day, however you may be listening on YouTube, Odyssey, or on your favorite podcast app. Thank you so much again for subscribing and always leaving your feedback. I'm David Ramil, and with me as always is my co-host Wes Goldberg. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Check out prizepicks.com and use the promo code NBA, or go to your app store and download the app today. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. Wes, another mailbag episode. We're doing these almost weekly now. We're getting so much feedback from all of our listeners, and it's great. Another opportunity to kind of just go outside the box a little bit as we cover the Heat and answer some questions about realistic trade scenarios. Maybe, again, some crazy scenarios that we like to get into every once in a while. It's always fun.
Yeah, a great chance for our listeners to really dictate the show. You determine what it is that we talk about. So if you ever
Choose your own
us to
adventure
talk about
kind of
something
thing.
specific, yeah, it's choose your own adventure. Email us, lockedonheat@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter at lockedonheat. Find us on Instagram at lockedonheat. You can, or just our personal Twitter accounts. You can send questions to all of those places, or in the YouTube comments, of course. But before we get to our listener questions, I kind of wanted to bring up a topic here. LeBron James, we didn't talk about this the last couple of days, but LeBron James, after playing in Miami Sunday night, goes on Instagram, posts a photo of him, and we're showing it here on the YouTube channel, but posts a photo of him on the court at FTX Arena, standing under the banners that a couple of which he helped raise, and with the caption, 305 to my city. Now, with a couple of emojis. Now, there's a lot to get into here. It is worth pointing out that 305 to my city is a Drake lyric that he is co-opting for the purpose of this Instagram post. But this, to me, is the first real time he's shown really any love, admiration, any sort of acknowledgement of Miami on social media every time he's played here. I don't know if that's correct, but I can't really remember any time that he did. Certainly not to this degree.
Media? No. Like he's talked about it in press conferences. He's addressed. He's addressed that he learned something here. He grew here. Great memories, great coaching staff. He talked about it during the finals, etc. But I mean, now it's kind of come full circle after he won a championship with the Lakers a couple of years ago, and I don't think he's ever shown this kind of quote unquote love like he did here in the Instagram post. It's very unusual.
Yeah, we got the heart emoji in here. Like, that's a big deal,
sign,
right?
forever
sign,
love.
heart. Yeah. So my question here, does LeBron get to claim Miami as his city? Now, LeBron has a city. He has Cleveland. He spent 4 years here. Do you think he gets to claim Miami as his city?
I mean, you're kind of putting me in a tough spot here because I hear like 95 to maybe 98% of our listening and viewing audience go, no, screw LeBron, because they're the more vocal, passionate fan base. But I saw some people also support this comment, and then there's the other possibility of, kind of like endearing yourself to LeBron and saying, no, come back. There's always a key. What is it? A shiny key waiting for you under the mat here, like Pat Riley addressed a couple of years ago. As far as whether or not LeBron himself gets to call this his city, no, absolutely not. This was a city where he came, enjoyed great success, was a part of something special, historically special, and there's no denying that. Like, whatever his success in Cleveland or Los Angeles or anywhere else notwithstanding, what the Heatles did in 2010 to 2014 was, I think, groundbreaking, history-making, whatever term you want to use, because it was just such an incredible time before social media was really picking up. This team got so much attention, changed the game in terms of free agency, and was able to accomplish great success. While they didn't go 4-0 in terms of NBA titles, they were still able to win a couple of rings, and I think it was an incredibly successful time period. But no, this is not his city. This is Dwayne Wade's city. It will never be LeBron's city, unfortunately. And I
Udonis
think
Haslam's city.
That's also fair.
Yes,
like, I think
also.
if you're gonna rank whose city it is, it's Dwayne's, Mr. 305 UD,
It's
Pitbull,
Pat.
and then LeBron James.
Pat Riley's city. It's Don Shula's city. It's Dan Marino's city. I don't know where LeBron ranks. I guess you can have multiple cities these days
Oh,
because
can
people
you?
are so transient. Yeah, I think it's not just NBA players. Like, I don't know. Like, Coral Springs is my city. Like, San
You spent a lot
Francisco
of
was my
time. Yeah,
city.
you spent a lot of time in the
Miami's my
Bay Area.
city. You know, like, I got cities, but I don't know. To me, like, I like the gesture by LeBron. I understand that
Sure,
there's
showing love.
a part of him that shows love to Miami. I get it. But it's to me, like, your city feels permanent. And I don't know that, like, to me, like, Miami was LeBron's girlfriend. You know what I mean? Like, he kind of just was in a relationship for 4
These
years and
these
then
metaphors
left.
are tricky, Wes. These
And
metaphors are really tricky.
but like, Cleveland is his city, but Cleveland's like his mom, you know, like, he
It's not
left
even.
Cleveland,
You know
came
what? You
back
know what?
home, came back home to mama, like, had success there after the little, trip in Miami for 4 years, whatever. And now, like, the Lakers, LA, that's like his wife. It's where he, like, ends up. You just end up with this one. Uh
No,
I don't
no. I think I disagree there. I disagree there. I think, well, first of all, like Cleveland is to Akron, like what Miami is to what Fort Lauderdale, maybe even further north
yeah.
of that. Like, I mean, geographically, there's a distance there, and yeah, there's an attachment because it's a clearly the biggest city with an NBA franchise. So if you're a kid from Akron, like LeBron is, and he's always want to say on social media, then you're going to gravitate sort of to the Cleveland. But even in that sense, like he never cared for the
I would
Cavs
push
growing
back
up.
on that because, yeah, I guess geographically and, like, I like a satellite city to the major city, but, like, Fort Lauderdale's still kind of its own thing. I don't know that Akron
Yeah.
people like,
Well,
I
I
don't
mean,
know that Akron
smaller.
is so small. It's like, I don't know. It's
It's
I
like
don't
the
know.
Keys then, like the Key West or
Yeah,
not
maybe.
Key
Yeah, but
West
yeah,
in
no, Key
Miami.
West is like actually, that's a different planet. That's, like, the weirdest place ever. I don't know, but,
Uh,
I don't know. I don't know if LeBron gets to claim it as a city, but it's interesting because you mentioned the other stops there too, and LeBron will have it's looking very likely that Miami will be the only city in which LeBron has won multiple championships.
that's fair.
He won
That's
once in
realistic.
Cleveland, and
Yeah.
it doesn't look like he's winning another one in LA. Certainly not anytime soon. We don't know how much longer he's going to play, but we imagine for a few more years. So anything can happen. But
Mhm.
I that part of it is interesting to me, and it
Right.
kind of feels like, all right, LeBron, you want to claim Miami. I almost feel like Miami gets to claim you a little bit too. In that, hey, I think it's weird, and I don't know if it's like a homerism bias thing that I have, but I kind of feel
Mhm.
like when LeBron is getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, people are going to mention the Cavaliers stuff, obviously, and the one that he won in Cleveland feels like it was 10 of them for the significance of it, but it was certainly the most significant championship of his career. But then I feel like the Lakers stuff is going to be right there because it's the Lakers and everybody wants to talk about the Lakers. I kind of feel like the Miami thing, like his 4 years, as big and as loud as the Big Three era was, now kind of just feels like a footnote. I feel like a lot of people forget that LeBron played in Miami. And
Yeah.
I would argue that if he retires and it's the Heat, the only franchise that he's won multiple championships in, like, I would give consideration into him being inducted into the Hall of Fame as a Miami Heat player. I don't know if it's up to him. I don't know how that works. I don't even know if you get abducted with any one jersey. But, like, the Heat thing should not be a footnote. It should not be like line number 6 on his Hall of Fame bust or plaque or whatever. It should
Yeah.
be at the top. I think he did his most significant stuff outside of the one Cleveland championship in Miami. He reshaped the league by going to Miami. And to me, there is significance between LeBron and Miami. Does he get to claim Miami as his city? I don't know, but I do think it's worth pointing out just how significant that moment in time was.
Well, I was just looking it up right now as you're talking about this. Like, this is his 4th season in Los Angeles. Like, he has spent
Yeah,
as much time in LA as he ever did in Miami, and it just doesn't feel like that because I know he had that one year that was a little bit different where he wound up getting hurt for the first time or for a significant amount of time in his career. Then, of course, there was the bubble and everything else in the compressed season. So, like, there's no denying that his tenure in Miami was percentage-wise like the most successful. Like, during those 4 years, he won 2 MVPs, went to 4 straight finals, etc. Like, he did something similar in his second stint in Cleveland, but I think in terms of what he was able to accomplish in Miami, he was at his peak, and I think that's pretty inarguable. Like that, there was a different, better version of him than the last time he had played in Cleveland when he returned there in 2014. I think is pretty fair and honest, but at the same time, it's because he learned what he did in Miami. To your point, I don't know if he'll get inducted. I really can't recall now if you get inducted in a jersey. It's not like Cooperstown and Major League Baseball and the Baseball Hall of Fames. I don't think you have a jersey with a bust or anything like that. It's basically just a photo
Well, then
of
I'm
a
going to the
headshot.
Hall of Fame and I'm putting a LeBron James jersey on his bust. That's what I'm going to, or a Miami Heat jersey on LeBron's bust in the
All
Hall of
right.
Fame. That's what I'm
So
going to do.
two questions then. One smaller, one bigger in picture. Does his jersey get retired by the Miami Heat?
Yes.
And I think the answer is pretty clearly yes.
Yeah. If
If
Shaq's got retired, LeBron's gets retired.
if
Like
at
as
the end of
much,
this,
yeah.
yeah. If, at the end of the season, however, though, and another question is, he spent 4 years now in Los Angeles. He spent 4 years in Miami. If he chooses to leave Los Angeles as a free agent, would you welcome him back here to Miami?
Yeah. Why
Right.
wouldn't you?
No,
Yeah, no
I
doubt.
look. Hey, you're saying this like it's a foregone conclusion. There is a large number of fans that probably don't want to have anything to do with him and the off the court stuff, even the on
Yeah.
the court stuff. I mean, when he held up 6 fingers the other day after Bam fouled out, there's a lot that comes with taking
Yeah.
on
All right.
LeBron
First of
James.
all, Heat fans, if you're touchy about the 6 fingers when Bam fell, it's a basketball game. There's trash talking. Like, don't be so sensitive. It's all right. There's trash talking. I like that LeBron is comfortable enough to trash talk the Heat guys in Miami. But yeah, I would welcome him back. I don't know. Like, even my fiance is the one that showed me this Instagram post, and she saw it and she was like, "Bleep this guy! What is he doing?
Exactly.
This captures." And I think a lot of people do feel that way. But also,
Yeah, no
like,
doubt.
if he was like, you know what, I want to come back. I think a lot of Heat fans would welcome him back. Look, if Cavaliers fans could welcome LeBron back, I think Heat fans could too. They'd be like, "Yeah, that's right. You should have never left in the first place. Told you, you come crawling." And then we'd wear it as a badge of pride or some crap or whatever. Do you think he should have ever left?
No, of course not. There's no denying that.
You know?
I look. I knew he was going to come back to Cleveland at some point, just because you
Yeah.
put a little bow on it. But I mean, I wrote about it at the time that I thought it was just a very odd choice for him to go back, not just because of Dan Gilbert being the piece of shit that he is. The fact that the things he said about LeBron in 2010. I also thought that Miami was and remains poised to win a championship before Cleveland does. I mean, I know that they won one in 2016, but a lot of things had to fall in place there. And one of them being that you have LeBron James, arguably the best player of all time. So I don't think he ever should have left here. I fell in love with basketball really as a fan
Right.
again in 2010 when the big three got together. I started covering it because of my appreciation for Heat basketball and things of that sort. So to me, it should have continued going on. Like Pat Riley said, stick if you have the guts. You don't just leave at the first sign of a challenge or adversity. You stick it out. You retool. You find ways to come back. They would have gone back to the finals at some point, right? At least very, very
Yeah, I
quickly.
don't think they would have. Though it's interesting because all this stuff with like the Caleb Martins and the Max Struces and the Gabe
Oh,
Vincents and all that stuff, like
right,
that doesn't happen if
right,
LeBron stays. I don't think they build that way. They actually needed a few years to sort of create their
yeah,
player
yeah,
development program. This is what you
right,
see. Like the Warriors just did it when Kevin Durant left and Steph was injured and Clay was injured. Like you need these kinds of absences and these
right.
kinds of voids, and you need to find creative ways to fill them. I don't know. Like, would it just been a parade of
Yes,
Rashard Lewis's for
yes,
years? Would that have
yes,
worked? I don't know. It's kind of like what he's doing now. Like that's kind of the team that LeBron wants. There's a reason why he chose every 36-year-old left in the league to team up with in the Lakers. But I don't know. I don't know. Last thing, really quick, and I know we're going long here, but last thing, really quick. Who deserves more credit for those, or who owes? Let me rephrase it.
Oh, this is a big
Who
question
owes
here.
who more for those 4 years, LeBron or the Heat?
Oh, you
Do the
can't just
Heat
set
owe
this up.
LeBron more, or do LeBron owe the Heat more?
This is a whole segment. This is like a whole show. You could spend a whole time waxing about this. To
Yeah.
me, quickly, I would say 50-50. Honestly, you can't accomplish what you do without LeBron being LeBron James. At the same time, LeBron doesn't accomplish the kind of individual success or be a part of individual success without a team with the stability and vision of Pat Riley in that front office. It taught him how to build a team, if nothing else.
I do wonder how many rings the Heat would have won if they had only signed Chris Bosh and then filled out the rest of the roster with other free agents. Maybe one, like maybe, but probably not. And so, yeah, I'm probably with you. It's 50-50. I wish I had a harder take on that. You're right. We probably need to really dissect that, but we don't
Yeah.
have the time.
Yeah, well, it's a great show. I would love to get into it at some point. This sounds like an off-season episode, certainly in the making. But we'll move on. We'll answer some more questions about your Miami Heat in the next couple of segments. But first, you've been hearing me tell you about Prize Picks for months. If you haven't signed up yet, now is the perfect time. Prize Picks has an exclusive no-brainer of an offer for all of our users. Users get $50 for free if a player in your first Prize Picks entry scores a single point. But you must use the code NBA. That's right. This is an exclusive offer available to Locked On fans only who use the code NBA. PrizePicks has the best NBA DFS prop game on the market. PrizePicks offers more NBA props than any other DFS prop operator and offers all the superstar players as well as bench players only recording a handful of minutes each game. PrizePicks offers any prop you can think of, from points, assists, rebounds, threes made, etc. You pick 2 to 5 players and then over/under on their projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry, and it's just you versus the projected numbers. Use the award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play. PrizePicks is safe and offers fast withdrawals. Go to prizepicks.com today or go to your App Store and download the app. All users that deposit and use our promo code NBA will get $50 free if your PrizePicks entry scores a single point. That's right. All users that deposit and use our promo code NBA will get $50 free if you use Prize Picks. If your first Prize Picks entry scores a single point, Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. Thank you for making Locked On Heat your first listen. The NBA trade deadline is Thursday, February 10th at 3 p.m., and Locked On NBA will be covering it live from 2 to 4 p.m. You can join Kim Becker, John Corrales, Locked On Fantasy Basketball host Josh Lloyd, and NBA veteran Antonio Daniels to get analysis of every blockbuster trade. Subscribe to Locked On NBA's YouTube channel and turn your notifications on so you know when they go live. That should be a great show. Lots of action. It looks like it's going to be, I think, from everything I'm hearing, it's going to be a busy trade deadline, although I'm not sure how much the Heat will be involved, but there's only one way to find out. That's by tuning into the Locked On NBA trade deadline show. But we'll move on with some more of your great questions that we received via Reddit. In this case, this one comes in again from Reddit. It says, what would be your favorite bracket path for the Heat, including their seed, to winning the championship, both realistically and fantasy? That is a tough one. So as we were talking about this before we started recording, you had a different take on it than I did.
Yeah.
And so we kind of split it up where you would handle the more realistic path for Miami to winning a championship. And I will tackle what this questioner says is the fantasy version in terms of what they would take for them to win a title. So let's hear
your
bracket and path.
I think the realistic, obviously the Heat getting the 1 seed would make it the easiest path to get to the finals. But then after that,
yeah,
in theory, right? And then after that, I think you're looking at, what happens with Brooklyn and Milwaukee? Because I still think the top 3 teams in the East, it's those 3. It's Miami, It's Milwaukee, and it's Brooklyn. And so is there a path to the finals where you only have to play one of Brooklyn or Milwaukee? Because then you're looking at matchups with Chicago, maybe Philadelphia, some other teams that, whatever, they're fine. They're playoff teams, but they're not like Brooklyn at full strength is, I think, still the favorite. And Milwaukee, like, I don't know that we're talking enough about the Milwaukee Bucks, even though they just came off of winning the championship. So if you can only play one of them, I think that would be ideal, especially if you have home court. So to me, the big question is, can Brooklyn or Milwaukee end up in that 4-5 matchup or that 3-6 matchup? Because as we're recording this, Brooklyn is the 3 seed, a half game back of the 1 seed. Milwaukee is the 4 seed, 1 game back of the number 1 seed. Like, to fall all the way down to the 4-5, I would imagine it's probably Brooklyn falling post Kevin Durant having Kyrie Irving split time. Some of this James Harden noise that we're hearing now, does that kind of infect the locker room a little bit? If Brooklyn can fall down to the 5 and Milwaukee could stay at the 4, then you're basically looking at Miami and Chicago and maybe Cleveland climbing into the top 3, because that's what it would require, right? And I don't know, maybe it's doable. Cleveland's been really good.
I can't see Chicago doing it. Like, I watched that game last night.
Staying in the top 3?
Yeah, no, they're.
You think
I think they're going to go. I do. I think with injuries to Lonzo Ball, I mean, who knows if Zach LaVine is able to stay healthy? Caruso
Yeah.
is going to be out for a significant amount of
True.
time. I know DeRozan's great, but at this point, they're kind of living and dying by Nikola Vucevic.
Mm.
His numbers, the split in between wins and losses, and his ability to contribute is pretty stark. Like that was something that we talked about in yesterday's episode of Locked On NBA. But anyway,
They've lost 7 of the last 10, so that slide may
Yeah,
already be happening, right?
absolutely.
So I don't know. The other option is the 3-6. So could Brooklyn fall all the way down to 6 and Milwaukee kind of end up in that settling into that 3 spot? Again, that would require Chicago or probably Cleveland landing in that, staying in that number 2 spot, or maybe Philly. Like if they make a Ben Simmons swing at the deadline, is that
Mhm.
enough to boost them? Embiid's having an MVP caliber season. Like they're only 2.5 games back of Miami. They're only 2 games back of the 2 seed. Like this
Yeah.
is like, I know they're at 6 right now, but it's close right now in the standings. So I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Either way, it would require that, and then maybe the Bulls. Look, I think the Bulls are pretenders. I don't think they're a real final. I think they're having a nice, fun season and everything,
Yes.
but I don't think they're a legit finals contender.
Right.
But if they could stay in that number 2 seed, and then if you're Miami, you play only one of Brooklyn or Milwaukee in the second round, and then you get to play Chicago in the finals, in the conference
Yeah.
finals. Yeah, I think that would be the ideal route, the easiest potential path to getting to the finals. But I guess the way that you read it is, all right, now you get to just choose the bracket, but also the outcome of each series. What's kind of the bracket that you would love to see play out in your
Yeah.
wildest
So I know a lot of people questions along these lines here, and we're talking about this even on Twitter, and the idea is like, you know what, go through the easiest path, right? That's the easiest way. It's like, you know what, this is in fantasy land. Don't worry about it. I don't care about whether or not it's realistic. This is just what I would like to see. And to me, I want to go through the gamut. I want to see the best, juiciest storylines play out on the court, because I think this team
You
that
got
would
the guts.
cement, yeah, yes. It would cement this team as just dismiss all that crap fluke talk. Look, I mean, the Bucks dealt with this for years. Like, I hate talking about the Bucks in a favorable way, but they dealt with whether or not Giannis could handle it versus whereas Middleton could be a second star, whether Budenholzer was a good coach. We talked about it a number of times on the show or on Locked On NBA, etc. They went through a lot of stuff as far as the outwards interpretation of what this team was, and they finally proved all the doubters wrong to some degree by winning an NBA championship. I want Miami to go through the same thing. That would prove everybody that they could win one without Dwayne Wade, that they could win one without LeBron James, that they could beat all comers and just take them on and be able to handle them no matter what the adversity or the challenge is. So to me, this is my bracket or my seeding here. Number one, the
Okay.
1 seed, Miami, obviously. Number 2, the Milwaukee Bucks. The number 3 seed is the Sixers. The number 4 seed, the Nets. The 5 seed is the Cavs. The 6 seed is the Bulls. 7 seed are the Hornets. And the 8 seed are the Raptors. Now, the reason why I picked that is because I want the 1 through 8 seed in the first round to be the Heat versus the Raptors. I think that's a juicy storyline. Kyle going back to Toronto, showing that team up, finding out just how to tackle on a guy like Fred VanVleet, etc.
I feel like Kyle Lowry would hate this. I feel like this is like drowning your own kid. Like, why would you make Kyle Lowry do that?
Whoa. No. That is like, you know what? Exactly. But you get forged through the fire, right? I mean, that metaphor might have been a little bit of a stretch there, but I think for him, it would be a good emotional cleansing. You know what? That was my past. I'm all about the Heat now. I'm dedicated to this team to help them bring a
A
championship.
baptism by playoffs.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you got to go through it. That's the reality. I mean, look,
Right.
from Michael Jordan getting past the bad boys in Detroit and on, you have to be able to face those challengers and find a way to beat them. Now, the next matchup is the 1 seed versus the 4-5 matchup. That's when the Heat take on the Brooklyn Nets, and that's to quash opinions like yours, where you've got all this talent, you've got these proven winners, and Kevin Durant, et cetera, Kyrie Irving, who's won a championship. None of that matters because Miami's team ethos, their depth, that's where it really comes through. That's where they find a way to lock up Kevin Durant, et cetera, beat James Harden, knock him out of the playoffs yet again, et cetera. That would be glorious. And then in the final matchup, in the Eastern Conference Finals, you tackle the Milwaukee Bucks. That's right.
Yeah,
That's
arch
right.
nemesis. Yep.
Absolutely. Your rival. Beat them completely. And then as far as the NBA Finals are concerned,
The team that you made offseason moves specifically to beat. They added PJ Tucker, they added Kyle Lowry in order to beat the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm with you. Yeah, like if you get to just pick the outcomes. So your finals matchup, what is the ideal matchup to you in the finals?
I don't know. To me, it kind of feels like the Suns.
Yeah.
I think that would be the one that's most interesting in terms of the way they play. You've got aging point guards, you've got great depth, you've got great shooting, you've got Hero versus his idol and Devin Booker, you've got James Jones.
Everybody
Uh,
would be rooting for Phoenix. The nation would be rooting for Phoenix. It would
yeah,
be again. I think the Heat would be. I think there are actually. I was going to say. I think there are a lot of people rooting for the Heat in some of these matchups. I actually don't think that. I don't know that there is a matchup where people would be rooting for Miami. Maybe against Brooklyn in a series might be the only team where people actually vote are rooting for the Heat. But Phoenix, people are like, Chris Paul, he's got to get his. So that you get this underdog. Everybody hates us, Miami Heat narrative in the finals again, which I think every Heat fan actually enjoys, even
yeah.
though they complain about it.
So other than that, Golden State, just because that would
That's
kind
one
of
I would
cement.
root for.
Yeah, that would well for you. I mean, it would make a lot of sense, but also because I think it would just cement your standing as one of the top teams, and not necessarily
Yes.
in NBA history, but to be able to beat a history proving team like the Warriors, I think would go a
How
lot
about
towards
this one?
improving your standing. Yeah, go ahead.
Jamal Murray comes back just in time for the playoffs. The
Oh
Denver
boy.
Nuggets matriculate to the NBA Finals, and
Oh
we
god.
finally get Nikola Jokic rematch against the Miami Heat. This is easily the best answer because now you've got the Jokic brothers on all the FTX Arena games. There's this like that drama playing out off the court. That is perfect. Give me Jokic versus the Heat.
This is Heat Knicks in the '90s kind of vibe to it.
Exactly.
That would
Lonzo
be.
Mourning will come out of retirement.
Oh, well, if that we're talking, if you cut Omer Yurtseven right before the end of the season, sign Alonzo Mourning, just so you could keep him on the roster. But that would be fun. You know what? Let's hear from you guys what you think. Give us your ideal scenarios or what you would like to see in terms of matchups, because I think this is definitely a fun conversation. I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but I think Miami looks like they're a realistic title contender, not just a dangerous loomer. And so, if that's the case, we want to hear about what matchups you'd like to hear. But you know what? We'll move on and answer some more questions in the next couple segments. But first, just a reminder that it's a new year. So that means New Year's resolutions. If yours is about getting fit or eating healthier, make sure you include Built Bar in your plan. Built Bar is a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, maybe even better than a candy bar. Why? Because it's 100% covered in chocolate. They're soft and easy to chew, and so many great flavors to choose from. You can build a box of your own favorites, give some out to friends, family, coworkers, whoever, whatever you like. And it's a great part of whatever resolution you might have in terms of if a diet or something that you want to change in terms of eating healthier. Then Built Bar is something you absolutely have to incorporate. And it makes it so easy to stick to that resolution because Built Bars taste delicious. And that's something to consider, because I know a lot of people hear a protein bar. No thanks, not interested in that. But with a Built Bar, it's like getting an indulgent treat and being able to stick to your resolution, something that's so hard for so many of us. But right now, if you go to built.com and use the promo code LOCK15, you get 15% off your order. So use that promo code LOCK15, but only if you go to built.com. Just a reminder that you can always reach us via email at lockedonheat@gmail.com or via Twitter using the hashtag AskLHeat. You can also send in comments via Reddit. Also follow us on all social media platforms, because we are everywhere and we're here for you and we want to hear from you as well. So let's move on. This next question comes in from Maxwell Marshall. Max, as we all know, a contributor over at our old site, All You Can Heat. He does some great work there, so make sure to follow him as well. But he sends in this question via direct message. Is Bradley Beal worth the proposed trade package of Tyler Herro, Duncan Robinson, and PJ Tucker? Now, Max is not necessarily supporting this trade, but so many
Right.
people look at Bradley Beal and that Washington is kind of, they're floundering a little bit in the standings right now. And a lot of people wondering whether or not Beal might be a trade target for Miami, one of the big names that Miami has been linked to for so long. So what do you think, Wes? Is he worth that package of Herro,
Well,
Robinson, and Tucker?
well, to me, what this question boils down to is: do you trade Tyler Herro for Bradley Beal? Because I like PJ Tucker, I like Duncan Robinson, but if you have an opportunity to go get an all-star, all NBA level scorer, a guy who rivaled Steph Curry last year for top scorer in the league,
Yeah.
yeah, you trade Duncan Robinson and PJ Tucker for him. So it really comes down to Tyler Herro. Would you include somebody like that in a move? And I actually think that Tyler Herro has been so good this year
Mm-hmm.
and has made enough of a leap this year that it's not an easy yes. A year ago, you're like, yeah, you trade Tyler Herro for Bradley Beal, you trade Tyler Herro for James Harden, like you trade Tyler Herro for Damian Lillard, you trade it for all that. But I do think you start going down the list. Would you trade Tyler Herro for Damian Lillard? I think at this point, yeah, I think you would, depending on what he looks like coming back from this injury that he's dealing with, which are obviously in Portland taking their time with. But then you can start getting down to the Beals. It's not a surefire yes for me. And I actually would probably say no. And the reason I would not trade Tyler Herro for Bradley Beal is because I think Beal is a better player right now. And and he's a player that, by the way, Tyler gets a lot of inspiration from. Like he models a lot of his game after Bradley Beal, especially in that mid-range area.
Sure.
But Beal's a little bit older right now. He's due for a really big contract. A much bigger contract than Tyler Herro is going to get, only because he has so many more years of NBA experience. So you get a little bit of a higher ceiling on what kind of contract,
max contract,
which is going to limit what it is that Miami would be able to do if they have to bring in, have to give Beal that kind of money, which they would have to. And then, like, Tyler Herro's younger. There's that homegrown aspect to it. Is it out of the realm of possibility that 5-6 years from now, Tyler Herro could be better than Bradley Beal? I don't know. But I think it's certainly possible. And like, I don't know that you deal your main trade chip, which would be your number one asset, which is probably Bam, but then Tyler Herro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for a guy who probably doesn't really move the needle. Like, let's just say hypothetically, your big three is Bradley Beal, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo. Are you that much more? And you have to lose a lot of your depth, your established depth for that. Are you that much closer to winning the finals? I don't think you are. We've not seen Bradley Beal do it that way in the playoffs. So yeah, I wouldn't do it, because not only because of how good Tyler Herro can be, but because also there's an opportunity cost that comes along with it, because you're not flipping Bradley Beal the same way that you would flip Tyler Herro to a rebuilding team. A rebuilding team doesn't want Bradley Beal. A rebuilding team would like to have Tyler Herro. And so, yeah, I wouldn't do it. I really wouldn't.
Yeah, I think we've had a variation of this conversation a number of times over the last year or so, mostly because Tyler was going through some perceived struggles last year, and we had heard rumblings that Bradley Beal was unhappy in Washington, but he's been doing this dance, right? It's kind of tiresome, to be 100% honest with you. I mean, not to say, not to knock Bradley Beal, the player, or even Bradley Beal, the person, but I'm tired of hearing Bradley's name linked to potential trades, and only for him to say, you know what, I'm committed to this, I'm committed to that, I want to rebuild a title contender in Washington. First of all, that ain't happening. So if that's what your commitment is, Bradley, sorry, you're going to wind up largely unsuccessful. You're going the path of Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing et al. As far as whether or not Miami should trade three key players that have been very, very successful this year, even Duncan, in contributing to Miami's title hopes, absolutely not. Like, my feelings on this subject. Like, I know the title is important. I know you want to go all in, but I think this team has something special in terms of chemistry. I think they're a great group right now. I think they're working well. They do support one another. I wonder how Beal would fit into that. You can't integrate him mid-season and have these expectations that he'll be able to embrace and understand Heat culture so completely right away. There might be a little bit of some slightly selfish tendencies in terms of putting up big numbers for himself, for his sake, and that that could chafe some of his new teammates too. So I don't know that
was that everybody eats Wizards were when Beal was injured a couple years ago, right?
Yep.
I mean, that is something. And look, the Heat have kind of two championship windows that they're operating in right now. You have the current one that is basically propped up by Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry to a certain
5
degree.
years from now, yeah.
And then you have the other one that's propped up by Tyler Herro and Bam Adebayo. So if you trade Tyler Herro, Bam's not enough to win a championship. You need more than one. He's a great player, but you need more than one great player. He's not enough to keep a championship window open 5-6 years down the road. So if you're moving Tyler Herro, that means you're punting on your future championship window in order to maximize the current championship window that we currently occupy. And if you're doing that, then you have to get somebody who dramatically changes your chances to win the championship right now. Bradley Beal is a good player. He doesn't do that for you. He does not do that for you. If you can go get that player who would do that for you, then you have to at least consider moving Tyler Herro as part of that package. But anything short of that, no. Just hold on to what you got.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I don't think there are a lot of players so significantly better than what Tyler in combination with Duncan and PJ Tucker provide that would be worthy.
So who's the worst player you would trade Tyler for? I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot. It doesn't, I'm not going to hold you to this, but like kind of generally speaking, Like Damian Lillard, you would do it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty obvious.
You'd have
here.
to.
I mean,
That's an obvious.
even though there's a glut with Kyle Lowry, you figure it out. Like you're getting that big time shooting. You're a 30-point per game scorer for sure, and it's not very different than what Beal provides in some regards. But I think I don't know. I just trust Lillard a little bit more. Like Dame time is to me, and maybe it's just all branding, but I believe in Damian Lillard's ability to come up big.
He's done it. We've watched him. Say bye-bye to teams in the playoffs. I think also what Damian Lillard does, he's like the closest thing to Steph Curry outside of San Francisco, right? With what he could do from 35 feet with the three-point shot and stuff. You put Damian Lillard in a winning atmosphere as opposed to what's going on in Portland, forget it. I know he's 31, but that's why you that's what we're talking about is a move that maximizes your window now, even if it's at the cost of your window 5 or 6 years from now. Lillard's like, and then your starter, what would you consider Lillard? Like 10-ish, if we're, generally speaking, like top 10 players in the league. He's probably around 10 when healthy. And then you're getting into like the Paul Georges, the Jason Tatums. I don't know. I don't know if
Here's a question. Would you trade Tyler Herro for Jimmy Butler? If this version of Butler was on another team. If Butler was on another team, would you trade Tyler for Jimmy Butler?
Do we have a needed small forward then? I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you have Caleb Martin, right? He's starting. You got Tyler ostensibly starting, perhaps, or Duncan starting alongside. Would you trade for Jimmy Butler? Because I think that's
because then you're talking like Jimmy Butler is the reason the window is open now. So if you don't have Jimmy Butler, then I guess you're operating with the expectations that you're competing 4 or 5 years from now, 3 or 4 years from now. So no, I wouldn't do it. Donovan Mitchell, would you do? Because does Donovan Mitchell right now?
Yes.
Improve your chances?
Yes.
Yeah, I would do it for Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, I think I would almost put Mitchell above Lillard because not only do you have that window open now, but you have it open for another decade from now too. So I think, you know how we feel about Donovan Mitchell on this show here. Let's move on. Our next question comes in from Sean Rochester, old Philly Heat NBA. Where do you think Caleb Martin ranks among the great dunkers in Miami Heat history? You've got Harold Miner, Derrick Jones Jr., LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Mark Strickland, the Pogo Man, Pogo Stick Man. Is that what it was called? Mario Moon. Yeah. Those are great names that Sean lists there. Where do you think Caleb Martin ranks? To me, not that high, to be 100% honest with you. I think he is. If I had to say, I know you've got takes on this.
I just have a question. I know Derrick Jones Jr. won the dunk contest. The other one was Harold Miner, right?
Correct. That's it.
Okay, those are the only two players to ever win the dunk contest.
Mario Moon participated, I think, when he was with the Cleveland Cavaliers, perhaps with the Toronto Raptors. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, so he was not a member. LeBron and Dwayne obviously never participated. Dwayne, a power dunker, but I mean, we stood next to Dwayne. Dwayne's not particularly tall. Dwayne's barely taller than I am.
The Anderson Varejao dunk by itself could win him this honor.
He power dunker by virtue of being a little bit more compact and also by having a 6'11" reach, basically. And that's why he was able to reach the rim as often as he did when his knees and legs gave out. It's not, he could still probably reach the rim to some degree, but he's not a dunker anymore. I don't know. He's certainly not a great dunker. He's a fun in-game dunker. And I think that's where kind of Caleb Martin ranks. Like, I can't imagine Caleb having that kind of creativity to do some of the things that we've seen in dunk contests. I think Caleb, as athletic, springy, whatever you want to say, great dunker.
Kind of like LeBron. What do you care more about? Like dunk contest dunker, like style points, or do you want like that in-game dunk? Because to me, a really good in-game dunk is still more exciting than like taking a ball off of a drone, throwing it off the backboard, and then laying it in with the opposite hand.
Shout out Aaron Gordon, huh? Yeah, shout out Aaron Gordon.
Like that to me, I was like, all right, I guess it's kind of cool because like drones, I don't know, but like this will never have. This is a thing that only exists in this thing, which I guess is sort of cool, but also I love a really good. Give me just like the Dwayne, like when I don't expect it, like the Dwayne Wade, Anderson Varejao dunk, or LeBron leaping over the body of Jason Terry.
Oh, like, well, that was Jason Terry too. That was beautiful. I mean, that was beautiful.
Yes. I would actually. I know Derrick Jones Jr. won the dunk contest. I know Harold Miner won the dunk contest, but I'm getting them. I'm kicking them out. I don't care.
Wow.
They're not in this conversation anymore. Caleb Martin has been awesome. He's a great in-game dunker. He told media the other day that he views himself as an in-game dunker, that he probably would not participate in a dunk contest because he doesn't think he can come up with all this weird stuff, which respect. No problem with that. Wade, like you're right, similar to Caleb Martin, or I should say Caleb Martin similar to Wade. I don't know what's more respectful. Incredible in-game dunker. And if you don't know what we're talking about, if you're a younger fan, you're like, Dwayne Wade dunking, I don't even remember that. Go watch the highlights if you haven't. Like, it's incredible what he's able to do.
Yeah,
But it's
Kendrick Perkins.
easily LeBron, isn't it? Like, LeBron is the one who was able to bring style and the power game and all this, like, flying death machine stuff. Like, it's very clearly LeBron.
It's kind of hard to argue that. Like, I mean, you can give some points to Derrick Jones Jr. I think some of his in-game dunks are kind of being overlooked because he was also a style finesse dunker in actual dunk competitions. But LeBron, like, he murdered people out on the floor and took off from like the foul line on occasion. And it's so big, so powerful in key moments during key possessions. Not only him, but also I'm forgetting. John Lucas III leaping over his head. Like, I mean, he Frederick Weissed him in an in-game, during a game against your rival Chicago Bulls. Like, I mean, those were pretty huge dunks there. The Jason Terry one's certainly powerful there, but I mean, there were just moments in the finals, momentum shifting dunks there that I think certainly he takes the crown yet again. So maybe
LeBron
he
is
does
like the only guy I can remember watching, not just on the Heat, but like in the NBA. It just felt like anytime he wanted to steal the ball, bring it down in transition and dunk, he could.
Yeah.
He could just do it. Anytime he wanted to do it, he could do it. And I don't remember. And there was such an excitement to that. I don't remember that ever. I don't remember any player ever giving me that kind of like feeling where like, oh yeah, you could just do this anytime that you want to do it. Even Caleb Martin, like that when against the Lakers, when he had that steal on the dunk there, I mean, that was opportunistic, no doubt, but I don't feel like Caleb Martin is doing that whenever he wants. You know what I mean?
No.
I count on him to do it once a game, but I don't think he gets to pick. LeBron, it just felt like he was like, all right, I'm going to do it now.
I don't care who's in my way. No, first of all, nobody's actually really going to get in my way. If you're brave enough or stupid enough in some cases to try and do so, well, good luck. You're welcome to my highlight reel. I don't know. It's kind of weird that we started the episode talking about LeBron and we've closed it here, but maybe now that we've crowned
him, really good, well planned, good timing by us.
Yeah. Now that we're talking about him being the top dunker in Heat history, maybe this really is his city. So that's something to consider in upcoming episodes. But anyway, thanks so much for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Remember that every episode is always free and available wherever you get the show. So make sure you subscribe to get the best coverage available. Make sure to also check out Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. This is David Ramil signing off for now. Thanks so much for joining me, Wes.
Wrap it up, B.